Hi, everybody. I am going to begin with a homework assignment for you. Yep, you can't just sit here and watch this. You have to do something. I want you, you can even do it after this talk, but I want you to get your Bibles and turn to the Gospel of John. And I want you to read John chapter 11, the first 43 verses. It's a familiar story to most of you, I think, but John 11, verses 1 through 43, and it's the story of Jesus's very good friend Lazarus. See, Jesus was with his disciples, and someone came and told them that Lazarus was sick. Well, everyone knows that Jesus is the healer, but instead of going to help his friend Lazarus, Jesus waited 2 days, and then he left and went. As you read through here, you're going to see all kinds of really nice, pay attention to a lot of the details, one of which is, it's one of the only places in the Bible where you will see the exact same word-for-word statement given by two people at different times and in a different place. One was by Martha and one was given by her sister Mary. Both of them told Jesus, if you would have been here, our brother wouldn't have died. Yes, they both said it word for word, the same thing, because you know they had been talking about it. We've sent word that Lazarus is sick. Why isn't Jesus here? And when finally Jesus did show up, both of them independently said, if you would have been here, our brother wouldn't have died. Well, Jesus came there. There's a lot in here. But he said to the ladies, where have you laid him? Where is he? And they took him to the tomb. And at that time, Jesus heard all of the crying and all of the weeping and the wailing because Lazarus was dead. And we come to the shortest verse in the entire Bible. It's 2 words. John 11:35, it says, Jesus wept. Jesus wept. Here, in just a few moments from this verse, Jesus is going to call Lazarus forth from the grave. He's going to wake him up from death. But yet, Jesus cries. And I believe one of the reasons he cried is because he so identifies with you and with me. With all of the tears that are going to be shed down through the ages, Jesus felt the pain that you and I feel. He also felt their loss. And Jesus wept. Well, just a little while later, Jesus says to the men, roll back the stone of the grave, and he says, Lazarus, come forth. And Lazarus does come forth, still in all of the grave clothes. I wish I could have been there to see how in the world did that happen. What was it really like? Nevertheless, Lazarus came forth from the grave. Jesus told him, take his grave clothes off and let him go. Okay, now this is the only gospel that talks about this story. This is the only one. Now I want you to jump ahead with me to the very, very end of the Bible, to Revelation verse 21. This is an amazing thing because John, who wrote the Gospel of John, is the same one who gets this amazing revelation from God. But this time, this is many years later, after the Lazarus event, many years later, here's John, and he is imprisoned on the island of Patmos. And he's all alone in this dark, dank jail cell. And here's the words that God gives him. Revelation 21, it says, then, John is talking, then I saw a new heaven and a new earth. For the first heaven and the first earth had passed away, and there was no longer any sea, no more ocean. I always thought that was kind of odd that that line would be in there. But of course, he is separated by physically and by geography. He's out on this island, and all he can see maybe through his little hole in the cell is ocean, because all of his friends are far away. But he sees a new heaven and a new earth, and there was no longer any sea. He goes on, verse 2, I saw the holy city, the new Jerusalem, coming down out of heaven from God, prepared as a bride, beautifully dressed for her husband. And I heard a loud voice from the throne saying, now the dwelling of God is with men, and he will live with them. They will be his people, and God himself will be with them, and he will be their God. This is the most amazing, the most climactic event in all of the universe history. And here's what I want you to pay attention to. John, who was the eyewitness to Jesus crying so many years before, it was made such an impression on him that he wrote it down for us to read in John 11:35. Now, as John is looking forward in eyes of faith through the revelation, he sees the new heaven, the new earth come down, and God will be their people, and they will be his people, and God will be their God. And here is the very first thing that God does. He will wipe away every tear from their eyes. There will be no more death or mourning or crying or pain, for the old order of things has passed away. That is what God is going to do. One day, he is going to wipe away all the tears from all of our eyes. Tears really are a language that God understands.
Much more than you can stand, but God is standing near. He sees your falling tears. Tears are a language God understands. Sees the tears of a broken hearted soul. He sees your tears and hears them when they fall.
God weeps along with man. Tears to flow, and things have not turned out the way that you had planned. But God won't forget you. His promises are true. Tears Tears are a language God understands. God sees the tears of a broken-hearted soul. He sees your tears and hears them when they fall.